This is the Spiegel Power 8 Road Race set by Eldon. I find it interesting that it actually says Spiegel right here in the instructions. And can't help to think that this was probably a catalog set sold through the Spiegel catalog. And that it's basically the Eldon Power 8 set that they sold thousands and thousands of copies on. This is the actual part of the instruction pamphlet, if you will, that talks about setting up the bridge supports, the track, and the flags. This is the Power 8 race set actually set up. I have it set up here next to my Selectronic Grand Prix set, which I showed on another YouTube video. But fortunately I have enough room in my new layout here to accommodate both tracks. The Power 8 track set is relatively simple, figure 8, and it comes with black hand controllers. This particular set came with 2 cars and 4 bodies, and I'll profile those cars in a moment. The biggest problem that we had with this set, unlike the Selectronics, is that they use the much smaller 0.8 of an amp transformer for this, and it seems to be a little underpowered to give both cars full power speed. And unlike the Selectronic, which has separate circuits for each track, the problem here is that it all relies on the single circuit, and it takes power away from both cars, kind of like on another set you may have. If you accidentally put both cars on one lane, they both run slower. Well, that's sort of what it's like. When I first got this set, interestingly, the typical Eldon challenges of the track being dirty and having to be clean and cars going around very slowly and a painstaking process to get the track working. On this particular set, the track was very clean, very nice, and snapped right together and conducted very well. It was the cars that were squeaky, dry of oil, rotted tires, what have you. Now, unlike these 2 Selectronic cars that I profiled previously, the Ferrari Testarossa and the Porsche, these are slightly different. For example, there is a Testarossa, but it was in blue, and there is a Lotus which is a similar body. But I want to kind of show some different differences between these 2 versions of the cars. Selectronic aside, these are different chassis. My guess is the Selectronics were probably around 62, 63, right in that area, and the Power 8 sets were probably, my guess, probably mid 60s, 65 or so, possibly 66. The first thing you'll notice is when you take a look at these cars, and you'll see that they still have the blue can motors, but the chassis is a little different. They're black chassis. The things that are really different is the brush setup is completely different. I actually prefer the older Selectronic on the left, where you slip the brushes in and then shove the tongue wires in the back. This version, you actually can remove the guide shoe by turning it around backwards, but they're held in place on the top by these little copper strips that the wires solder onto. Both my cars the wires were off, the strips weren't in good shape. On both of these, you'll notice I replaced the replacement brushes. I do have a small new old stock of Eldon brushes that I kind of put on the shelf. What I've been using is copper Ninco brushes, which seem to work pretty well. They're kind of narrow, but they work pretty well. The biggest difference between these 2 chassis, as you'll notice, is the wheels and the tires. The Selectronic on the left uses the old-fashioned Eldon 7/8 inch with the big hubs, and then they changed to this smaller 3/8 inch hub, and it's actually, I think, a smaller tire diameter also. Unfortunately, typical slot cars is these are dry as a rock right now, and they don't drive at all. I've just got them on the front, and because I don't have replacement tires for them yet, I borrowed from another car my the earlier version. Thankfully, the axle and the gear work, and they just snap right in there. So temporarily, that's how I'm running them, even though that's not correct. As soon as I get replacement tires, we'll be putting those on. The biggest problem with these, as I mentioned, is when you're having both running at the same time, the transformer's a little underpowered. Perhaps due to age, it doesn't put out quite as much power. So these cars are both floored right now. If one was to go off the track or stop, the other one would zoom way ahead. Kind of turbo mode, as one of my friends on the Yahoo Eldon group pointed out. So we can probably resolve this speed issue by adding a separate transformer for each track or running them on Selectronic.
Hey Daddy, what a cool! Oh, that one is cool. This one, you that one. I won! Good now, Daddy.
These are running much better than they were when I first got the set, even after I had tuned the cars. When I had the track set up slightly differently, I could barely get them to go both around the track at the same time. They are going faster now. This is almost usable. But I'll probably play around with additional transformer options when I get a chance.
I did it here. I did
A Toy King Wonder presentation in color.